Hi everyone, welcome to our second session of the day. This session we'll be talking with AfriTin Mining, who are a junior and developing mining company based in Namibia. Unfortunately, AfriTin couldn't join us live here today, but we recorded a Q&A session with them earlier this week for you all to enjoy. And welcome to our second session of the day here at the 10th Investing in Tin Seminar 2021. I'm joined by AfriTin CEO Anthony Viljoen. Anthony is a mining entrepreneur with over 2 decades worth of experience operating in Africa, having been involved in the establishment and development of a number of junior mining companies across the continent. Anthony was a founding director of Bushveld Minerals from 2012 to 2017, taking the company to a market capitalization of £500,000 before he spun out AfriTin Mining and became the founding CEO of the company. AfriTin is a developing tin producer in Namibia operating out of its Wies mine. AfriTin began production in late 2019 and achieved nameplate production of 720 tonnes per annum of concentrate at the Phase 1 processing plant. However, the company is not stopping there and is looking at both Wies and regional targets to expand production. So Anthony, thanks for joining me.
Hi, James. Yeah, thanks for having me. Very nice to be on this webinar and to tell the story of where AfriTin is today.
Great. So for those who don't know much about AfriTin and much about Wies as a project, can you introduce the company and the mine?
Yes, so as you mentioned in your introduction, AfriTin was a spin-out from the successful Bushveld Minerals, and we've targeted minerals that we believe are focused on new technologies and the development of new technologies. And as we all well know, that tin is the glue that's going to stick these new technologies together. So we've taken a view. We've been looking at tin assets across the world for the better part of 2 decades, being very bullish on the metal ourselves. And having this asset that we've got in Namibia is an incredibly unique opportunity. It was at one stage the largest hard rock open cast tin mine in the world, and with only 6% of the world's tin being mined open cast, this would place us in a competitive advantage from a cost and a scale point of view that I think very few people realize how rare that is in the current tin concentrate mining market.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a great opportunity. Rewinding slightly, you said that you've been looking at tin opportunities for the better part of sort of 2 decades. What attracted you to Namibia as a sort of mining jurisdiction, and why Wies as a mine project?
So it's quite an interesting one. For the better part of sort of almost 30 years, there's been very little exploration and development of tin assets. A lot of the tin that does come onto the market, sort of like Myanmar and other places, tends to be of a artisanal type of nature. So there's been very few large-scale industrial-scale mines being developed in the tin space. Obviously, our colleagues have done a fantastic job in the DRC, but outside of that, there are very few operating tin mines. What really attracted us in the first instance to Namibia was the jurisdiction. Really incredible mining jurisdiction, very favorable towards investors. But more importantly, from a geological point of view, it's the region that we're in has the most phenomenal array of pegmatite belts that are just really phenomenally big in nature. And the cassiterite crystals within these pegmatite belts are of a very coarse nature, which means that we get really good liberation of our cassiterite, which obviously adds to our low operating costs. So fantastic geology that we believe will be a new technologies minerals province, but also a very investor-friendly environment in Namibia.
Yeah, you mentioned that the pegmatites have really large cassiterite crystals, but I believe that's not the only sort of new tech metal within the pegmatites. Is that right?
That's correct, James. So 30 years ago, nobody really looked for lithium, or and to a lesser extent tantalite. But since we've acquired all the historical information, which was a huge amount of data, we've actually tested for a variety of different elements. These pegmatite belts are like a smorgasbord of different elements, and we tested for a variety of these elements, and lo and behold, we've also got associated probably one of the biggest hard rock open cast lithium deposits associated as a byproduct from our deposit. So, really plays very well into the new technology theme, and into our belief that this is going to be a new technology's mineral province of global significance.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from what I understand of the project at the moment, you're recovering the tin, but you're using a phased approach to development. So is the next phase to start recovering those other metals?
Yes, James, definitely. The unique nature of a gravity plant is, it's an infinite development project. So the quicker you get started, and the quicker that you understand how the ore moves through the plant, the obviously the better. And then given what the nature of a gravity plant is, it's really all about flow dynamics, and then it's about getting efficiencies in your flow through the circuit. So the more efficient we can get that, the better. We've got a resource of just huge size and scale. So now it's all about designing a processing plant that fits that. So we started off with what ISCOR had back in the day, and copied that flow diagram, which is operating really fantastically well now, and we've got to grips with that. And now it's about the expansion, and obviously adding the byproduct circuits in, which would be modular add-ons to the existing circuit, as opposed to building a whole new circuit from scratch. So, I think although it was a fairly sort of high risk, high reward strategy, I think starting a phased approach, given all the historic information we had, has paid dividends. Not yet, but paid dividends in terms of strategy to us at this stage.
Yeah, and in terms of expansion of the processing plant, what's the next phase for tin?
So for tin, we've announced obviously the phased expansion of our phase one plant. So essentially, in the front end of the circuit, basically creating bigger crushing capacity to take on more ore. And then in a concentrating circuit, looking specifically at efficiencies within the dense media separating part of the circuit. But the whole trick to this ore body, because you're getting good liberation and you don't need to mill, it's all about moving huge tonnages of rock as efficiently through the plant as possible. So we're already achieving fantastic upgrades in terms of throughput as a result of our sort of continuous improvement exercises. But when that phased expansion comes on, we'll obviously be able to add to that and add to the efficiencies. And the more efficient the plant is from a gravity point of view, obviously the lower your costs are.
Definitely. And when you expand the mine to increase those volumes that you're putting through, are you looking to exploit other pegmatites in the area, or is that just from the existing pegmatites that are in the mineral resource?
Yeah, so we're focusing specifically on the pegmatites at this stage that we have existing knowledge of. So the V1, V2 pegmatite was probably about 40% of the historic resource. So we confirmed 100 of the historic holes. We've still got information, very detailed information on the remaining 600 boreholes in and around the other historic pits. So we still got a lot of historic information that we can bring up into modern JORC standards. But then in addition to that, there's still another 180 outcropping pegmatites with visible tin mineralization that we can look to bring on. So, it's just about continually adding tonnage and continually processing that tonnage as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of upside exploration potential at Weiss still.
Yes, very much so. And I think that's unfortunately been lost a little bit on people. The old saying, "It's too good to be true," but this really is something special that we've got here, and I believe that will be part of the tin environment for many decades to come.
Yeah, and I know that's not the only tin project that AfriTin has as well. You recently announced a regional exploration program as well.
Yes. So one of our other historic licenses was also it was also a historic mine, the Brandberg West mine, that was owned by Goldfields and operated for a number of years. It's a similar type of concept, except that the mineralization is slightly different in that we've got tin and tungsten in a vein-hosted mineralized area. And what's interesting is some of those historical veins had huge concentrations of tin and tungsten. I mean, some of the historic boreholes that we're looking at had 28% tin over 10 meters, which is just sort of off the charts. So we're very excited about Brandberg West, and we believe that will be our second asset.
Yeah, and I believe there's also plans to develop some of the other pegmatites around Weiss as well that aren't already included within that license area.
Yes, that's right. The important thing of what we've done in terms of our strategy is setting up a footprint that allows us to expand regionally. So it's about systematically going through all the pegmatites and identifying which ones will be of economic importance to us. So, a lot of, as you say, geological upside that we'll be looking at.
Yeah, so what's the plan for next year then in terms of both the mine itself and also exploration?
So from the mine itself is completing the expansion, bringing in the byproducts. Another area that I'm particularly excited about is the potential for ore sorting that can really have a dramatic effect on the economics. So we're looking at some test work on that now. Just making sure that we can get the mine operating as efficiently as possible with the expansion. From an exploration point of view, it's proving up the lithium and tantalum into a higher grade of confidence from a geological point of view, exploring the other, bringing the other historic data into JORC compliance, regional pegmatite evaluation, and bringing the Brandberg West deposits into JORC and potentially even advancing to exploration on that. So a huge amount of work, but we've got a team now that's capable of executing big projects and delivering what we say we're going to the market. So we're very confident of where we are as a team, as a company, and we're in an exciting phase now that we've laid the platform of cash flows and operations. Now it's all about growth and expansion, which is the sweet spot for most junior mining companies.
Definitely. And I know we've got a lot of investors watching today, and ESG is becoming a much larger part of investment portfolios and determining what projects to invest in. What does AfriTin do in terms of the ESG side of things?
So we're putting a big emphasis on ESG. The nice thing about a gravity-based plant is that your carbon footprint is generally pretty low because there's no deleterious chemicals going into the environment or any roasting. So we've got an incredibly low carbon footprint as it is. But we're in a very beautiful part of the world. So we want to obviously minimize our footprint and maximize our contribution to that. We've got a number of different initiatives on the environmental side, specifically related to the local fauna and flora. And then, from a social point of view, the multiplier effect of starting a mining operation has numerous benefits, not least of which is that it's the local community is benefiting, from the increased economic activity in the area. When the mine stopped 30 years ago, a lot of poverty moved into the local communities, and already now we're seeing new companies, the small businesses being developed. We're seeing, we've got various schemes in place to assist in the development of the local community. So already the multiplying effect is taking place there. And then naturally, from a governance point of view, we adhere to sort of strict guidelines in terms of, all of our relevant initiatives related to being a listed company. So, we are putting a big effort on that. We've got a large sort of focus of that in the board. We've set up an ESG committee, and we are looking at a number of different initiatives. Our guiding sort of principles are by the international mining principles. So that we're using that as our template, and relating what we're doing to those mining principles.
Well, I mean, that all sounds brilliant, Anthony. And just a final question that I'm sure the investors will be asking is, what sets AfriTin out apart from the other junior miners in the tin space?
First and foremost, production and positive cash flow. There's, I think, to start an industrial scale mine in tin these days is going to be increasingly more difficult, and are going to be found in increasingly more difficult areas. So I think that we're already ahead of most junior miners in the space. I think there's only 3 listed producers of tin in the world at the moment, from a junior mining perspective, being our colleagues AlphaMin, Metals X, and ourselves. We've got a very different offering to both of those. And I think that the nature of the scale of our deposits is something that is not taken into account. And I think that that's where our real competitive advantage is, in terms of getting much bigger economies of scale. And, that mineralogy of having those coarse cassiterite crystals differentiates us from a cost, from an operating cost perspective. So I think we've got something special here, James, and I'm very excited to keep sharing the good news with the world as we keep expanding this operation.
Yeah, and how can people keep up with the news from AfriTin?
So we obviously update the market regularly, but we've got a very detailed website, and obviously being a member of the International Tin Association and having your good reviews of our progress, we really want to start increasing the profile and increasing the amount of knowledge out there in terms of what our deposit is really all about.
Yeah, great. And if anyone wants more information on AfriTin, they can also visit the exhibition booths here at the event to download the sort of latest presentations and announcements from AfriTin as well. So that's actually about all we have time for today, Anthony. So thanks so much for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, James, and thank you to the International Tin Association for all the good work that they do in terms of promoting tin in the world. And, we look forward to participating in many more of these seminars going forward, and hopefully in the not too distant future, we can all meet in the same room post-COVID.
Definitely. We're all looking forward to that. Okay, thanks very much, Anthony.
Thanks, James.
And welcome to our... Great, so that was Anthony Viljoen from AfriTin Mining. We're going to talk next with Joe David from Elementos in just 2 seconds. Thank you.